Hey guys, welcome back to Story on Java. So in this video I'm going to explain simple REST API project using Spring Boot, and will show you the architecture, code, and how API will work with Postman. So this is the architecture of the Spring Boot REST API project. So we have a client, so client sending the request to the controller handle the HTTP request, and service layer contain the business logic of the project, and service layer communicate with the DAO layer, so database layer, and database layer we are communicating with using JPA. So JPA have a inbuilt method to perform the database operation, and the model is like whatever field we want to save into the database, so that field we are defining into the model. So that model is like a database table, so that field we are defining into the model. So now we will create the Spring Boot application for the REST API. So I'm going to the STS. So here we will create the Spring Boot application. So you can find here the Spring Boot starter project. If it is not there, you can search also here Spring Boot starter project. Okay, now just click on the next, and here the type is Maven, and the project name is suppose REST API demo, and package will be anything, you can write whatever you want. So just click on next, and here is a important part. So whatever dependency we need to add here, we can add the dependency. So firstly we will using the MySQL database, so we will add the MySQL dependency, first one, and we are using the JPA, so for that we will use the JPA dependency. And for the web application we are using the Spring Web. Okay, so that three dependency now we want to add. So just click on finish, and the project will create. So you can see here the progress. So it will take a few minutes to build the project. Now the project is built successfully, you can see here the, and now I will show you the package and structure of the project. So you can go here and you can check the default package com.example.demo. So in that contain one main class, so in that contain one main method which will be starting the Spring Boot application. So firstly we will start with model class. So firstly we will create one model class, that is entity, we can say entity, user entity. Okay, so class name is suppose user, and in that I will add it into the entity package, entity. Okay, now here I have created one entity class, that is user entity, and we should mark here @entity, so it will treat as an entity class. So we just import it. Okay, in that I will define one ID, suppose private long ID, private string name, and private string mobile. Okay, so that three field I have defined here, and ID will be we will mark it as a primary key, so we should annotate it with ID annotation. Just import it from Jakarta, and it will be auto generated. So we will use for that generated strategy. Generated value strategy will be identity. Okay, generation type dot identity. Okay, so id will be automatically generate whenever we are persisting the data into the database. So id will be auto generation, and name we have given, mobile number we have given, and we will add one more thing. So suppose contact number, we have already taken mobile number, so we will take it as an integer. We will take it as a string, and we will take one more, suppose integer, and the salary, suppose we will take this field. For that we will generate the getters, constructor, getter, setters, and toString method. Okay, so firstly we will create default constructor. After that we will create the constructor, and the next one is a getter, setter, select all, just generate it, and the last one is a toString method if you want to display the data. So for that we will use the toString method. So our entity class is ready. Okay, so next one is we will create the DAO layer. So using GP we will connect, we will communicate with database. For that we will create the DAO layer. So you can create one interface, new interface, user, repo, and the package will be repo. Okay, so it will create one interface, and we will extending it by JPA repository. Extends JPA repository. So it having inbuilt method to perform operation with database, and we will pass here user, and the id type will be long. And just import it. Now our DAO layer is ready. So next one is we will create the controller to handle the HTTP request. Okay, so we will create user controller class, user controller, and package will be controller. So this class is responsible for the handling the HTTP request. So we will use here two annotations. So first one is REST controller. So basically this annotation used to handle the HTTP request, and the next one is a request mapping. It is used to map the request actually. Home, we will giving as home. Okay, and in that we will create the HTTP method. So firstly we will take the data from the database. So for that we will use the get method. So it will return the details of user. So we will create one public method, and it will return suppose user, and the method name will be get user, and in that we will pass the id of the user. So how we can pass? So from the Postman we will pass the id, and here how to get it? So we will use the path variable annotation and the int id. Okay, and here to just import it, path variable also import it, and we will simply return null. For this time we will call the repository methods. So firstly we will create the one service layer, and in that we will add those method for the CRUD operation: get, put, post and delete, and then after we will call it from here. Okay, so we will create the one service class, user service class. You can go here, you can create the user service class, user service, and package will be service, and create here, and we will annotate at the service. Okay, and in that we will create the method to perform the operation and to add the business logic of that project. Okay, firstly we will auto add the repository here. User repo we will auto add here. So user here, so private user repo, using auto add we will use this dependency injection, auto add annotation we will use here, and simply okay, now ready to use it. Okay, so now to get the user details, so we will create one method, suppose public, it will return the user, and method name will be get user, and it accept one id, and okay, and we will call one method of this jpa dot find by id. So it is inbuilt method, so we are calling it from here, and we are just passing id, and we will simply return this user. Okay, it will optional, so you can, or else you can throw any exception, user not found. We will simply return null. If the user not found, then we will simply return null. Okay, so this one method is created in a service class, and this method will call it from the controller class. Okay, so you can go here, you can call here, suppose users, here also we want to inject that dependency service class. Okay, so auto add we will doing it as a auto add, so user service we have injected here, and we will use here. Okay, so user service, and we are calling one method of the user service, get user, and id we are passing, and id will be long type. Okay, this one method is created to getting the single user data. Okay, so second method we will create to post the, to add the user into the database. So for that we will create one more method, public, and it will return nothing. Okay, and the method name will be add user, and it will accept the user type object. Okay, and we will simply call the save method of the repository dot save, and we are passing here user. So we have created the one more method to save the user into the database. We are calling the user repository inbuilt method save method, and we are passing the user, and we will call it from the controller class. So you can go here and you can create one more method public. It will return suppose void, it will return nothing, save user, and it will accept one user request body user. So request body annotation is used to get the data from the Postman as a JSON format. Okay, so for that we are using the request body. What is happening? Save the request body at the request body. Okay, and we will calling the service class method save method add user. Okay, and we will simply passing this user to the service class. Okay, so these two method we have created. We will create one more method. We will create one more method to get the all the user from the database. So public list of user we will return from here, get all. Okay, we are not just import it, and we'll call the find all method of the user repository, find all. Okay, and just simply return this one. So we have created the three method into the service class. First one is used to get the user single user by passing the ID. Second one is to save the user into the database, and third one is to get the all the user from the database, and that method we are calling it from the controller class. So for get all we have not created, so we will simply create one more method to return the list of user get all. Okay, and it will we are just passing, we are just calling the service class method dot get all, and simply just return it here. Okay, so these three method I have created into the controller class as well as service class, and we will annotating it here. So we are getting the data, so it will be get mapping. So this annotation used to get the user get the data from the database, and here we are saving the data into the database. So here we will use the post mapping annotation, post mapping. Okay, and third one also it is same, get mapping. Okay, and here we can add also request, I mean HTTP request, whatever we want to add. Suppose get by user, so we will just add by. So we will just we will simply get the ID from here, nothing else. Okay, so we will create like we are calling the API like home slash and ID as suppose 1. So this API we are calling it from the Postman. Okay, and the post mapping we are just calling the post method, and get also same, we are without ID we are calling the get mapping, so it will call this method. Okay, this HTTP request will be matched to this method. So one more things we need to add, so we need to add the database configuration here to access the database. Okay, so the database username password we want to add here. So first one is data source URL we need to add, spring dot data source URL. Okay, data source URL JDBC. So we are using MySQL, so MySQL and the port number of that MySQL, so localhost 3306 and the DB name. So I have created one database here, story on Java, so we will simply add the DB name here. Okay, second one will be add the username, so spring dot data source dot username will be root, and the password spring dot data source dot password 123 sagar. Okay, and for the database operation we will whenever we will run the application, so it will automatically create the table. So for that we will add the JPA automatic, so JPA dot hibernate dot DDL auto, so it will automatically generate table into the database. Okay, okay, just save it. Okay, so this is the database configuration we need to add into the application.properties file. This will be aligned application.properties file is used to add the properties like project properties whatever we are using into the database. So that property we need to add here. We can use the YML file also, but here I am using the properties file. And here also we one of the important file form.xml. so whatever dependency we have added while creating the project, you can see here we have added one JPA dependency to communicate with database, to perform the database operation, it having inbuilt methods to perform the operation. Second one is a web to handle the HTTP request, and the third one is a MySQL dependency, it is used to database connectivity. So that dependency we have added here. And okay, we good to run here. We can run here now, just run it, see what will happen. You can see here the application started successfully, and the port number will be 8080. Okay, so we will call the HTTP request whatever we have created APIs, so we will call it from the Postman. So firstly we will open the Postman and we will create one new collection. Suppose collection name will be story on Java REST. Okay, into that collection we will add the request, get request. Suppose localhost 8080. Here we will add our API home and okay. So now you can see here in controller class to map this request, like if we want to get the data by id, so we want to pass the id here, but the last one is we are getting the all the users, so here we don't need to pass anything, we will just call this API. Okay, so it will automatically map to this method, so we will call this method slash home. Okay, so now you can see here it is bad request. Okay, something else. So we want to call the get method, not post method. You can see here we have added get mapping here, get mapping, so we need to call the get mapping. Okay, so now you can see here the no record found into the database. Okay, so that's why it will return the null. So firstly we will add the user into the database. Okay, so for that we will create one more method, post method we will create, we will passing the URL same. Okay, and just method is post. Okay, just save it and name will be post, and we want to pass the JSON data, right? So this JSON data we want to pass. We have created entity, so that field we want to pass, right? Okay, and id will be auto generated, so we don't need to add the id, so we simply need to pass the name, mobile number and salary. So you can pass from here body, you can go click on body, click on raw and click on JSON. Here we need to select the JSON. Okay, so here we need to add the JSON, so JSON will be user type. Okay, so we have a name, mobile number, salary, these two things. We have string type and this will be integer type. Okay, so we will create here and we will pass name, suppose story on Java. Okay, and second will be mobile number also string type. Okay, so mobile and string type, suppose 9 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8. Okay, and the third one is a salary, so salary is a integer type. Salary, just check it again, salary it's integer type, mobile. Okay, salary, and salary is a integer type, so we don't need to add the double quote, so just add 82. Okay, so just we have created the JSON the user, so we will simply sending the request. So yes, we are getting the 200, so data will be added, successfully added into the database. So if you want to check here, okay, so you can go there and the table, we have user table will be created, and you can check here, select star from user, so data is added successfully into the database. Okay, and we will get it also, we have created the get method. Okay, and we are calling it, you can see here the user data will be getting here. Okay, now by id also we can check it, so id is 1, so we will pass 1 here and you can call it. So user data, again we have a single user. Okay, so if you want to add one more user, okay, So we will add one more user. The API will be this, and the XYZ. Okay, 44. Okay, so second will user we are adding here, so added successfully. You can check into the database, so both the user added. You can get it using by id, so id is 2. You can see here the second user id is 2. So if you want to find the user by its id, so you can call it okay, we have get method, right? So you can see here the xyz user is here. Okay, so if you want to get the all the user, so we have one more API. So this API you can check here into the controller to get the all the user. We'll call it from the Postman. Here you can see 2 user is returned successfully. So this is the simple database, a simple REST API Spring Boot project. Here is a simple REST API project. We have created 3 method, like we want to find it by its id, we want to get the all the user, and we want to post the user. Okay, so we just recap the things what we have done. So we have created the one Spring Boot starter project. Into that we have created one firstly entity class. So this is the entity class, it having 3 fields, I mean 4 fields: id, name, mobile number, salary. So id will be auto generated, we are annotating it at the rate id, so it will be primary key. Okay, in that we have added constructor, getter, setter, and toString method. And second will be repository layer. So here we have created the one user repository, we are extending it using JPA repository, so it having inbuilt method to perform operation with database. Third one will be service layer. So service layer is we are using it for the business logic. Basically whatever we want to perform business logic, we will perform here also. Okay, and the last one is a controller. So it is used to handle the http requested. Okay, so we are annotating it here, the at the REST controller request mapping to map the request with this class, and we are acquiring the user service. Okay, so user service method we want to call here, so we are just acquiring here, and this is all about. And the one more important file, the application.properties. so this file contain the database credentials. So what database we are using, username, password. So this file contain the database credential, username, password, what database we are using. So we are just mentioning here. And one more file is most important, form.xml. so this contain the all the dependency whatever we want to add. So this file contain the that dependency. Yeah, that is all about the REST API.